Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Living on the Verge podcast, where we talk all things pop culture, reality TV, and food and travel. My name is Virginia, and I thank you for joining me for another episode of the Living on the Verge podcast. If you like what you hear, please make sure to follow and subscribe, rate and review, and especially tell a friend. Now, let's get started. This week on the podcast, we'll talk Oscars and Oscar fashion. We have a ton of Bravo news to discuss. We'll have a quick Potomac reunion recap. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on that, but we will get into that. And of course, we'll cover the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about Denise Richards' new show, Denise Richards and Her Wild Things. I'm so excited about that show, but I promise no spoilers on that one. And we will have a couple of cool things to discuss in food and travel. And breaking news, guys, BravoCon is back, November 2025. Join me, won't you? I'll certainly be there, and I'd love for you to come along and share in the experience with me. They haven't announced when tickets will go on sale, but as soon as I hear, you'll hear. Did you watch the Oscars? I thought Conan O'Brien was a good host. I thought he kept things light and moving. My favorite part was when he came back from commercial break about halfway through and he said, well, we're halfway through and it's now time for Kendrick to come out and call Drake a pedophile. That really cracked me up. He went there, you guys, and I thought that that was pretty damn funny. I thought the Adam Sandler bit was kind of funny as well. I was sad that Billie Eilish didn't win for her song Birds of a Feather. I love that song from Wild Robot. And I couldn't believe that Honora, a movie I had never heard of until Oscar night, won so many awards, including Movie of the Year. And I was also really disappointed that Demi Moore didn't win for the movie The Substance because I really thought she deserved it. My favorite fashions of the night were Halle Berry. I thought she looked impeccable. The mirrored look is not something I normally go for, but it was done really tastefully. And I just thought her whole look was absolutely flawless. And of course, I thought Demi Moore looked gorgeous as well. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's horrible. I don't like this fad, the naked see-through fad. We saw nipples, we saw butt cheeks, we saw vaginas. I think it was Zoe Kravitz is the one with the butt cheeks. Hated that look as well. I think it cheapens the red carpet. And I hope that this fad passes because I miss the days where women left a little to the imagination. I find that much sexier. And maybe it's just me and I'm aging myself, but gosh, I hope not, guys. I hope that we can all come out through the other side and find something better to do with regards to fashion. It doesn't have to be all shock therapy all the time. So let's talk about Bravo news. There is a ton of Bravo news this week, and I'm just going to jump right in. Have you heard? The word on the street is that they are currently filming and interviewing for Real Housewives of Rhode Island. It's supposedly going to take the place of Real Housewives of New Jersey if that doesn't come back. So they're looking for something in the similar geographical area. I don't know if any of this is true. This is all alleged, alleged, alleged. And then there's the one that I'm more excited about, and that's the Real Housewives of Seattle. Has anybody heard about that one? I just found out about that earlier today, and I think that might be a sleeper like Salt Lake City, a big surprise. We'll see. Let's see if any of this is true and if it plays out. So, Jax Taylor. Did anybody hear the news? Jax Taylor came out, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, and in a really uncomfortable interview, I think it was Alex Baskin's podcast, he admitted to struggling with the cocaine addiction since he was, I think, 23 years old. And the reactions to his announcement were interesting. Everybody that has been asked says they knew that he had a problem. Apparently, he's almost 90 days sober. Brittany's reaction was too little, too late, and I hope everything works out for him. But yeah, it's not that simple. And Tom Sandoval was asked on Watch What Happens Live how he felt about it and if he was aware of it. And he said that the cast and he were aware of Jax's coke habit. And so, surprise, with the Valley starting soon, it'll be really interesting to see how all of this played out last summer when they were filming the show. And it'll help us all understand why Brittany was so pissed off on the podcast and why she kept saying, "You're just going to have to stay tuned. You're just going to have to stay tuned." I can't help but wonder if the reason Jax made this announcement now is because we are getting ready to start the Valley soon. And we're going to see something there that we are not going to like. And maybe this will just, build in some sympathy for him. I don't know. And I hope that that's not the reason. I hope that he is getting help for his son. I know that he loves his son very much, but Brittany alludes to the fact that she and Cruz have been through the mill because of Jax's substance abuse problem, and apparently now he is alcohol free as well. But he does report that he smokes weed from time to time, and therefore he is quote unquote California sober. I mentioned Tom Sandoval was on Watch What Happens Live. I think that was yesterday. He was on with Kyle Cook from Summer House, and Victoria was there, his girlfriend. I guess they're still together. He announced that they just celebrated their 1 year anniversary, and Andy was very gallant in congratulating them. I couldn't help but remember just a couple of months ago, I couldn't sleep, and for some reason, I got on Instagram. It was really early in the morning, like 4:30 in the morning, and damn if Tom Sandoval doesn't start an IG Live. Do you guys remember that? Where he was having an argument with Victoria and he was chain smoking and drinking, and it was like 4:30 in the morning. It looks like he was coming off of a bender. Allegedly, I don't know. But what I do know is that the IG Live, at one point he got off and then he got right back on and then he abruptly just ended it. So I have no idea. Andy asked Tom if he's been in contact with any of the people on Vanderpump, and he said that he did talk to Lala right before heading out to New York to film Watch What Happens Live, and he said that he still talks to Scheana as well, but he didn't say how much. And the last I heard, Scheana was saying something differently on her podcast, but I haven't listened to her podcast recently, so who knows? Maybe I missed the reconciliation. Speaking of Scheana, does anybody watch The Masked Singer? You guys, Scheana was the bat. It was just revealed, I think it was last night, that she had been playing the part of the bat on The Masked Singer. She got eliminated last night. I think she was singing Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso. Look it up on YouTube. I saw it on Instagram. It was really cute. She and Summer Moon were dancing in their living room while she was watching it. So I thought that was a really cool moment. And I was happy that Scheana got a moment in the spotlight, you know. Unfortunately, nobody knew it was her until she left, but nonetheless, she had a moment. Congratulations, Scheana. And who remembers Monica Garcia of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, also known as part of the group Reality Von Tease? If you guys watched that season, everybody remembers Monica. She just announced on a People magazine exclusive that she is pregnant with child number 5. Congratulations, Monica. I'm happy for you, and I hope you have a very successful and healthy and easy labor and birth. I guess that answers the question as to whether or not she will be invited back to Salt Lake City anytime soon. I think the answer is no, at least for the foreseeable future, but again, I could be wrong. And to wrap up Bravo News, Teddy Mellencamp is home from the hospital. She had a really touching post on Instagram where she documented her journey coming home to the song I'm Coming Home. I cried. It was really touching. And I'm just so impressed by her perseverance. In her post, she also states that she hears our love and prayers and that they're helping her with the strength that she needs to get through. So keep them coming, guys. And that's it for all of our pop culture and Bravo news this week. I'm going to do a quick Potomac reunion recap, but I need to be honest with you guys. I didn't really watch this season, mainly because I was just so over this show. And I watched the first episode and got really turned off because I didn't see it turning a corner. But then through Instagram and, tidbits I'd hear here and there, I got caught up in Mia's lies. And so I watched the last couple of episodes and I kind of gleaned through the reunion. So here's what I'm going to tell you. TJ and Stacy are over. No kidding. Really? Anybody who believed that was a real relationship, I'm sorry. I think Stacy believed that. I heard her on Two Teas in a Pod, and she said that in her heart, she really thought that they were going to move on and have an intimate relationship once her divorce was complete. You could kind of tell by the look on her face when production brought the phone out so that she could see for herself that TJ had in fact told Eddie that Stacy hired him to play her love interest on the last season. Her face just completely fell. She looked flabbergasted and completely shocked. So I don't think it was true, but again, I don't know. Maybe she's just a really good actor. Who knows? I was really pissed off that Mia decided to get up and leave, and not just leave, but leave. Like she left the set, she got demiked, and she just took off. After everything that she put everybody through all season long, I thought it was super cowardly of her to walk out and not face what she had done to others and not you know, pay the piper. I mean, that's what the reunion is supposed to be for, right? We're supposed to resolve issues and mend fences so that the show can continue. I really don't see how this show continues with Mia. And honestly, I'm good with that. I do not need to see another season of Mia at all. One of the other things that came out on the last episode of the reunion is that Ashley Darby is finally divorced. 3 years, you guys, it took for this divorce to go through. But she is finally a single woman. Congratulations, Ashley. Go out there and live your best life, pretty lady. We all know that Karen wasn't at the reunion because she checked herself into rehab, coincidentally, like a couple of days or a day before the reunion. And we now know that she only spent 48 hours in that rehab facility, which really can't even be called a rehab facility because it was apparently more of a spa. But the only reason I even watched all the way till the end of the reunion was because there was some speculation as to whether or not Andy would come out with the postscript, given that the third part of the reunion aired after she was convicted and sentenced and reported to prison. So I thought maybe Andy would come out and say something. And for that reason, I watched all the way till the end, only to find, alas, I was wrong. He said nothing. It was not addressed in any way, shape, or form. And I was really, really disappointed that I wasted another hour of my life because honestly, I really hope that they make some changes over at Potomac so that I could look forward to watching it again next season. Otherwise, you guys, I'm off that train. Let's all take a deep breath and pivot. Let's talk Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I'm still in my love-hate relationship with this show this season, and I can't seem to get past the fact that one week I love it and I feel like, okay, the boring part's over. And then the next week, something crazy happens, and then the week after that, we're back to crap. Maybe it's just me. Sorry if I'm offending anybody out there who's really, really enjoying this season, but I don't think I'm wrong. Ratings are 800,000 viewers for the last episode. And just to give you a little point of comparison, Summer House's last episode had 1.6 million viewers last week. So I don't know, guys, that's double the viewers. Do we think that the Housewives franchise might be in jeopardy? I hope not. I don't know what I'll do with half of my life. But if the ratings have anything to say about it, I think that the viewership is declining for the Housewives franchise. I don't know. Here's what I came away with this week from this episode. First of all, let's talk about Garcelle. Garcelle, I just love you. I think you're gorgeous. Your confessional look with that mustard yellow dress, impeccable. It looked beautiful on your skin tone. It was super flattering. I loved the way it came across on camera. Your whole look was just really, really pretty. But I can't help but wonder, why is Garcelle only filming with Jade and Oliver? I think Oliver's kids showed up in the first episode, and I know that I think it was her sister came at one point last season or this season, but I want to see more of Garcelle. I want to see her interact with the date. I'd love to see that softer side of her. I would love to see her develop a love interest. I'd love to see more about her, career. She's producing, she's constantly working. So show us a little bit more, Garcelle. When they showed the picture of her on her first runway appearance, she was so young, so innocent looking. And when they showed the side by side with her and Jade, it gave me the chills. I just thought, geez, what a proud mom she must be at that moment to see her son blossoming, knowing what her journey was and what a big moment that was for her. At first, I thought, Jade is making his debut at Sutton's show. Is that really how you want to start your career? But after watching the show, I thought it was a good move. So we'll talk a little bit more about the show as we get into it. For Erica's storyline this week, we get to see her mom Renee again, and she's in town, I guess, to see her remodel of the home that she is living in. I love that little house. If I could have an adorable little house like that in LA, I would jump on it in a minute. It's so cute. And I think it has a lot more charm than some of the big old mansions that they've shown on the show over the last few years. Anyway, I digress. The name of the designer that did the interior decorating at Erica's house is Martin Lawrence Bullard. This man is really famous and he has done work for some very, very famous people. Look up his website. It was so impressive. And his taste, I just love it. What you saw there on the remodel for Erica's house was based on what she wanted, given the style home she lived in and kind of her personality. But if you look on the website, you would not be disappointed. The guy has style and taste, and I'm sure you have to pay for it. So listen, Mr. Martin Lawrence Bullard, I'd love to have you on my podcast. If that's the kind of advertising, I'll give you all the advertising you want if you come and decorate my home. Wouldn't that be super cool? Wouldn't that be awesome? I highly doubt anything like that will ever happen, but a girl could dream. Erica, I love your new vibe, but I want to know more now. Now that you can talk and that you can share, I know you went back to Broadway. She played Roxy Hart in Chicago for the second time. That's the role that Ariana Madix played last year, and she got invited back because ticket sales went through the roof. I don't know how Erica did. I heard she does a really good job playing that role, but I have not heard that ticket sales went through the roof. No shade, I promise. I'm just saying I haven't heard that. Now, when this show was being filmed, it was June of 2024, and that is right about when Tom Girardi's trial was going to begin. Now, they were filming at least part of the time, so that might explain why her behavior was a little subdued and why her storyline was a little, I don't know, boring. I mean, she pivoted to interior design as a diversion, I guess. We now know that Tom Girardi was found guilty. So where's Tom today? Well, he's in a memory care facility under lockdown. and they are still married. Will he ever go to prison? I don't think so. I don't know, but I don't think so. I think he's too old and he's in late stage dementia. I don't think that this is ever going to amount to anything more than what it already is. And if I were Erica Jane, I'd stay married to him too. I mean, hell, he basically ruined your life. You might as well wait him out at this point. Did that sound crass? A little bit, right? Oops, sorry, not sorry. And then we had Kathy Hilton. Kathy, you crack me up. You were on fire this episode. I love Kathy. I love the vibe she brings. I think I said that last week, but I adore her Kathyisms. I mean, sometimes she really plays dumb, and it's so funny to watch because I hear she's an extremely intelligent woman, so it's all got to be an act, and she's just having fun. I mean, hell, she's just living her best life, isn't she? I heard she has something like 150 parties a year. Can you imagine? 150 parties a year. That's like 2 or 3 a week. I could never do that. Hats off to Kathy. But anyway, in this episode, she had some really key moments, in my opinion. Sometimes Kathy says some really, really silly stuff, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But she said some really profound things. She was talking with Kyle in the car about, the rumor and the picture that had come out the week before with Mauricio at the airport. And listen, do you remember last summer when all that was happening? You had Morgan Wade and Kyle Richards, and the video of Morgan's song got released, and there was all that drama. And then there was the Dancing with the Stars fiasco where Mo and his partner were caught out to dinner a couple of times, and they swore they were just friends. And then we had the picture at the airport where once and for all, Kyle just kind of admitted, okay, I guess he's just going to be with other people. And up until then, it seemed like she was holding out some hope. I don't know. Kathy nailed it. She says, I think Mauricio has a type. Kyle did not want to hear it. She did not want to chat about it. She did not want to tear it apart. And she sure as shit did not want Kathy to do any investigating that might uncover any juice or dirt or tea, period. She basically said, leave it alone, Kathy. One of the Kathy-isms that really spoke to her intellect and really said a lot to me was when she told Kyle, when people are quiet, that tells you a lot. Think about that. It's true. Sometimes silence speaks volumes. So that was something that I think Kyle needed to hear, maybe didn't want to hear. But listen, let's talk about the fashion show for a minute. First of all, Kathy Hilton arrives late. Everybody's already seated, and she runs in and announces that she thinks she broke her knee. Now, if she did break her knee, the woman has a pain tolerance, to outdo all of us, because I can't imagine she'd be sitting there chatting casually about her broken knee. But that was really funny. And then when she asked about the hors d'oeuvres, and everybody kind of looked at each other. What made me laugh is that they're all so used to her that basically Dory just translated it for Bose, and they just moved on as if it was just another regular old day with Kathy Hilton. So at one point, Kathy decides that she's going to go backstage to do what she thinks will come off as a practical joke. It doesn't come across that way at all. And she goes backstage to tell Sutton, who is waiting to start her show, that Dorit would be happy to be the announcer for the show. And Sutton looks at her mortified and says, we are not going to have an announcer. So Kathy comes out, and it's funny, the light's already on, the show's about to begin. The comic relief of it all, when she comes through the curtain, Kyle's mortified, And then she walks up to Dorit and says, "She said that was very sweet of you." Oh my gosh, she can be so oblivious sometimes. And the proof of that is in the fact that she decides to stop to talk to Erica's mom right when the show is about to start. They had just sent out the first model. The first model did not look happy. Did you see how she kind of pushed her away? It looked to me like she wanted to shove her into the pool. It was really a funny moment. And Kathy just kind of ran and sat down and didn't think much more of it. Just kind of went on with her day. That's Kathy Hilton for you, but to me, it was hilarious. Not a whole heck of a lot went on with Kyle this week, except for the fact that she was definitely trying to kind of tamp down all of the conversation with regards to Mo. I don't think that she wants to discuss that. I think that she is, in a way, cheating her audience who have been loyal to her all of these years. I mean, on the one hand, I think, something as serious as your marriage should be private. But on the other hand, when you've made money and you've exposed your life for 14 plus years, don't you kind of owe the viewing audience the real story? Are you going to do this forever, Kyle? I'm a little disappointed, if I'm being honest with you. But let's move on. She and Kathy are in the car together because they're heading to have a mammogram. Their mom passed away years ago from stage 4 breast cancer, and she says her mom had skipped her mammogram for 5 years, and by the time she got checked, it was too late. So, there's a certain amount of anxiety, and they decided to go to have their mammogram together. Unfortunately, I could relate to that. My mom is a breast cancer survivor, and she was treated many years ago, but because of that, my sister and I, she's 6.5 years younger than me, we have had to have mammograms since way back then. I have always been really good about it, but my sister kind of waited and waited, and then at one point we had a conversation and we decided to go together to support one another, and that makes it a little bit easier. But I want to go to a place that gives you instant results. That's pretty cool. The hardest part of the mammogram, other than the squeezing of the boobs, is the waiting. So the idea of being able to go to a facility where you can kind of sit there and the radiologist comes out 20 minutes later and gives you the results, I think that's pretty cool. I want to find a place like that. But PSA, ladies, get your mammograms. Get your mammograms and do your breast self-exams every month. It really matters. It's important. Okay, I'm going to move on to Bose. I think last week on the podcast I called her Boz. I really did not mean to. I knew her name was Bose. I love her. Bozama, you are my favorite new housewife this season. And listen, her after show outfit, it just says, I do me. Like, I am a woman, hear me roar. The earrings that she was wearing, the red puffy earrings, reminded me of those old school paper flowers that they used to put on cars for weddings. There I go, I'm dating myself again, but I don't care. That cracked me up. I could not unsee the wedding flower earrings after I saw them. But her confidence, you guys, it's really necessary for a Black woman to appear with such authority. It's welcomed, it's necessary in this day and age. And honestly, we have such little representation of powerful women of color on TV these days that I just see her as a breath of fresh air. I hope that her storyline develops more, and I really hope that she's given a second season because this one and done season stuff is just not for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was really glad when Anne Marie didn't come back, but I'd like to see Crystal back. I think she had 2 seasons, but I still don't think they gave her enough time, and I'd like to see her back. Again, that's just my humble opinion, and I really happen to like her. But for the most part, this episode focused on Sutton and her fashion show, her sustainable fashion line. I'm not going to get into sustainable fashion because I just don't know enough about it, but it's really funny if you watch the after show, the girls go back and forth and they kind of allude to the fact that it's kind of a racket, which I found really funny. Sutton, Sutton, Sutton. You know, that woman is still longing for her mom's approval. It's really sad because her mom ends up not making it to the show. She tried. It sounds like she really tried. She missed her first flight and then she spent 13 hours at the airport and for whatever reason ended up not being able to make it to the show. But you can just hear the longing in her voice, in Sutton's voice, for her mom's approval. Even when she's making her speech at the end, she says, I think mom would be proud. Sutton, she's proud of you. She may not know how to say it, but if you look at the takes where you're talking to her on FaceTime, you can see that she is trying in her own way, in the only way I guess she knows how, to validate you. And I'm saying that to you as someone who's not crazy about how your mom handled Garcelle, but nonetheless, I want to give you the reassurance that was it just me, you guys, or did Nick, the event organizer, look like Ty Pennington? Remember that guy from the home makeover show? Move that bus. That guy? To me, he looked like a dead ringer for a younger Ty Pennington. And every time he came on, I couldn't help but giggle because I kept imagining Ty Pennington asking the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills to take their seat because Sutton's show was about to start. I don't know. Sometimes I think the craziest things. I think Sutton's show was really, really well done. And I think that Jade, Garcelle's son, is going to be a big model. Mark my words. He's got the talent, he's got the look. So Scheana Shay, she makes a cameo appearance at Sutton's fashion show. And that was kind of an off the wall rando thing, but nonetheless, it happened. And I can't help but think that Sutton was really still just trying to impress not only her mother, but her ex-husband, Christian. So why? And who is Christian Schrack? It got me to thinking. I know we've heard a little bit about it, but I started to wonder. So here we go. Christian is the global head of credit research and managing director at PIMCO, an investment management firm. He joined PIMCO in 2008. He moved to London in 2023. Remember, he wanted Sutton and the kids to come with him, and she finally just said no and stayed in Beverly Hills. It seems like they're still pretty amicable. They were seen in St. Bart's, December of 2024, and they're vacationing together, so how bad could it actually be? But for some reason, she just really seems to want his validation, and I really feel like Sutton needs to just, find her own worth within herself. It's hard to watch a grown woman be that pitiful. Sorry, I said that in my out loud voice, and maybe I'm still a little pissed off about her wallet comment. I don't know. So, you guys, I watched the after show, the Beverly Hills Housewives after show. And do you remember last week when I was talking about divorce attorneys and how, when they were giving Dorit advice on how she should probably lawyer up, I mentioned that if it were me, I'd have gone to every attorney in town so that uh, PK would not be able to hire any of them. That's exactly what Sutton said on the after show. She literally repeated almost verbatim what I said. But guess what, guys? You heard it here first on the Living on the Verge podcast. After this week's episode, Sutton Strack and Denise Richards were on Watch What Happens Live, and Andy confronts Sutton about the wallet comment. And she didn't have a really good explanation except to say that she was upset and that she was tired of taking it, and that was how she retaliated. I honestly thought if that is her defense, it's a very weak defense, and she's not really good at retaliation. You need to work on your game, girl. That was just not okay. And then when Andy pushed a little bit further, she actually seemed to be doubling down. And he even said that, are you kind of doubling down? And she didn't say no. What she did say, she and Andy talked about how the reunion was shot last Friday. And what she did say is that it was really emotional, probably one of the most emotional reunions that she's ever been a part of. And Andy agreed with her. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'll keep watching until the end of the season. And of course, I'm going to watch the reunion. But I'm still really hoping that it'll juice up a little bit. You know, last week's episode was kind of boring to me. This week's was a little bit better, but I need more from Beverly Hills. Come on, ladies, help me out. I'm not going to cover The White Lotus this week because, well, I haven't watched it. It's not on until tomorrow. But I am going to talk just briefly about Denise Richards' Wild Things. Bravo, bravo, fucking bravo. I am so excited about this show. I loved her then. I love her and her upside down sweater. And I think I'm going to love this show. I watched the first episode. No spoilers here, you guys, I promise. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the show and how it's kind of set up. It's her husband, Aaron, and her two daughters from Charlie Sheen, Sammy and Lola. Her daughter, Eloise, who she adopted at birth after she divorced Charlie, and their dogs. And it seems like it's just going to be really funny. Uh, the two daughters, Sammy and Lola, made completely different life choices. Sammy is an OnlyFans model and is making buku bucks from what I understand. I heard $3 million last year, but it's alleged, you guys. Don't hold me to it. I can't confirm it. It's just what I heard on the internet. And her other daughter, Lola, is like a born again Christian, is very proper, very, very different from Sammy. And then there's Eloise, who was born with special needs, but she, being Denise, did not discover that until after she had adopted her. And so we're going to follow their life. One of the quick tidbits, it's not a spoiler alert, but I just thought it was funny. At one point during the episode, uh, Denise is talking and they're sitting at a picnic bench and she literally gets distracted by the squirrels, which I think is hilarious and ironic as fuck. But I just love Denise Richards. I really do. So on Watch What Happens Live, Denise Richards was on with Sutton Strack, and the bartenders were Sammy and Lola, her daughters. And they played a really funny game. Andy had a game where uh, they were all supposed to guess whether or not Denise was in a particular movie or show, because Denise is a true actor, has a very, very, very long list of credits to her name. And the funny thing is, the daughters apparently don't watch her movies or her shows. So this is the game. But the funniest part of it all was that Denise didn't know any of the answers to the game about whether or not she was actually in any of these shows or movies. She got most of them wrong herself, and they were just cracking up. I thought it was pretty funny myself. We're told that Charlie Sheen is going to be on the show. And we also find out on Watch What Happens Live that Denise is not feeling like talking about her OnlyFans money. Andy asks her about that, and she basically says, "We don't talk about money," as she looks at Sutton, which I thought was a little bit shady, but very appropriate and kind of funny, actually. Andy asks her if she's close to any of the housewives and if she's maintained any relationships. And she singles out Cynthia Bailey. She says they're very, very close. And she says she's friends with Crystal. And listen, I don't know if you guys have heard, but Cynthia Bailey and Crystal Minkoff have a new podcast. It's called Humble Brag. Shout out Humble Brag. I love your new podcast. It's getting it's a good way of getting to know Crystal and Cynthia in a different light. Now, I've always loved Cynthia Bailey. She's my girl. I've loved her ever since, the early days of Housewives. But Crystal Minkoff, in my opinion, was not given a chance to really show herself. So this podcast is really showing a different side of her, and I'm just loving her more than I thought I did already. So take a listen. And ladies, if you want to come on my podcast, feel free. You're always invited. The door's open. So it looks like Denise Richards' Wild Things is going to be a really fun show. There's going to be some familiar faces, and it looks like the energy is good. She seems to be a real person, and I'm really excited about this show. So let me know, you guys, if you would like me to cover it. So what happened in food and travel this week living on the verge? Well, I took my grandson and my son. It's my son's birthday this weekend, my oldest son, and my grandson had told me that he would like for me to teach him how to make sushi in one of our next cooking classes. So it's been a while, but I try to do cooking classes with my grandchildren because I want them to have the same love of food that I have. We were supposed to do it twice a month. It's been a minute. In fact, I don't even think we've had one this year. So hey, Maya's making an appearance on the podcast, guys. Say hi to Maya. Anyway, I found this cooking class down in Temecula at a place called Kitchen Fantasy. I have taken cooking classes there before, and I thought they were really fun. They're affordable, and it's kind of a cool, evening out. In this case, I thought it would be more fun for myself, my son, and my grandson to all have that experience together and learn how to make sushi together. And it was a really good time. It didn't disappoint. It was about an hour and a half, and I think there were maybe 9 people in the class. The class was geared for children, so my son and myself were the only adults that were actually taking part in the class, because if you want to take part in the class, you have to pay so that you can get the food and you can eat. Otherwise, you can go as a parent and just kind of stand and watch as your child participates in the class. But this was a really cute class. Chef Maddie was the chef, and she taught us how to make a California roll, all the way from how to make the rice. She taught us how to make a couple of sauces, and then she taught us how to make a rainbow roll. So it was really cute because the kids were able to make their own rolls. My grandson was super proud of himself, and he did a pretty good job, if I do say so myself. I think that it was a fun experience, and we built memories, and that's the kind of stuff that I really like to do. So yeah, that was the food portion of things this week. And last week, just real quick before we close things up, I promised you that I would give you a tip about Disneyland. And I thought about this, and I wondered, should I really give them this tip? Are they going to ruin it for me? But I'm going to share this one with you. So at Disneyland, there's a single rider line for the Matterhorn. If the queue for the Matterhorn is 60 minutes or longer, and you are in a party of 1 or 2, you are better off standing in the single rider lane. Chances are you'll still be able to ride together, but either way, you're going to save at least 50% of the time. Now, this only works if you're 1 person or 2 people. Because of the way they release people from the single rider line into the queue, if there are more than 2 people, you're better off just waiting in the line or getting a lightning lane. That's my tip for this week, guys, and I really appreciate you joining me on another episode of Living on the Verge podcast. Come back next week and join me. We'll be covering RHOBH again. We'll catch up on White Lotus. I'll give you an update on my Botox. I'm supposed to have a consultation this Friday to go over things. And I'm making sushi this weekend. I'll let you know how it turned out. And later on this month, we should have our first guest. I'll tell you more about that soon. Thank you for joining me. That's it for this week's episode. But if you liked what you heard, please follow, subscribe, maybe give me a rating and a review. I love 5 stars. And if you have any tea or blind items, I promise you can stay anonymous, or I can mention your name if you'd like me to. You could reach us on livingonthevergepodcast@gmail.com or on Instagram at livingonthevergepodcast. If there's a show you'd like us to cover or a restaurant that you'd like us to review, please email us or send us a DM. So again, thanks for joining us. Come back next week as we are all living on the verge together. Have a good day.